Welcome to Corvette Studios, bringing you into the Corvette and NCRS world, with your host, Steve Dazier.
Hello everyone. Today we're doing another update on our Project 60, our 18,000 C1 Corvette build. I will say our progress has slowed down a bit. Our Chevy C10 project has been taking a fair amount of time, but we are making some progress. So let's check out what's been happening. We have placed our body onto our frame. Everything seems to look pretty good. We don't have the body mount bolts in, but things align pretty well. Our straightened frame, I think, was definitely a success. We did get all the paint removed from the rear deck and the trunk. So the rear portion of the car, as far as body-wise, looks pretty good. We paid our friend Jeff at Reuse a visit. We acquired a couple of parts, but we also did some horse trading. So we traded for a couple of door panels. They are pretty rough. Actually, the vinyl isn't horrible. It's worn a little bit, but a few little cuts on the edges, but not horrible. Carpet's pretty well shot. We do have the reflectors and some other trim components. We've got the trim that goes around the aluminum, which actually isn't in bad shape. I'm sure a little cleaning and buffing, I think that'll look pretty good. The aluminum insert here is pretty rough. It's got some scratches and dents and dings, so it doesn't look the best, but it's also not correct for a 1960. It has more of that tiny little square pattern. And then the back side's pretty rough as well. The backer boards I'm sure it got wet, it's warped, it's broken, it definitely is pretty beat. So our plan is actually to use this as a template and basically build a new door panel, obviously using some of the components that we do have here. So in addition, with our trade with Jeff, we did also pick up a few sheets of this aluminum, which is a little bit more correct for 1960. I don't think it's a perfect match as to what it's supposed to be, but I think it's close enough. So we'll obviously be using this in the aluminum insert as well. So I'm sure we'll probably be doing a video at some point on how to reconstruct a door panel. If you remember, our hinges for our trunk and rear deck were pretty much seized up. So we wanted to take them apart, get them cleaned up, paint them, and get them in good working order again. However, upon closer inspection, there was quite a bit of deterioration at the top of the components. Probably contributed to why they weren't working as well. The other one was actually quite a bit worse, which we do have disassembled. There's basically a top bracket here that was barely hanging on. Obviously, it's off now. So we have cut out a piece of steel. We're going to get it bent up at my dad's place, get it welded in, get all the other pins and things hopefully attached to it, and see if we can get it in good working order again. Once we got all the internals of the engine installed, we decided to attach the engine to the frame. The reason we did this is we don't have an engine hoist, so in order to get it off the engine stand, we kind of had to do it this way. So we attached the engine at the front with the engine mount bracket. I will say I'm not a big fan of how that attaches through the water pump, but we did get it installed. Once we had the front of the engine supported, we provided support at the bottom side of the engine so we could remove the engine stand. Then we installed the flex plate. We torqued it down to the proper specifications. Our clutches had a fair amount of surface rust on them. Same with the flywheel. We did get it cleaned up pretty good. However, there is a fair amount of pitting in both the pressure plate and on the flywheel, which I'm not thrilled with, but this is our budget build, so hopefully we'll be okay. The friction plate, I think, looks okay. There's definitely some wear, but I think it's got a little bit of life to it, so hopefully we're good on that. So let's get them installed. I originally tried to use the shaft from the transmission to align the clutch during installation. However, that didn't seem to work so well, so I did end up purchasing the correct alignment tool for installing clutches. Once I did that, it worked pretty well. Then the bell housing went on with the clutch fork installed, and we bolted everything and torqued it to the proper specs. And last came the transmission. Since we did have the engine just supported at the bottom, the alignment was off a bit. I just could not originally get the transmission through the clutch into the engine. So I actually had to, with a jack, raise the engine up from the bottom to get the proper alignment so we could indeed get the transmission completely installed. One problem with these older Chevy small block engines is the front of the crankshaft does not have threads in the center. That makes it much harder to get harmonic balancers on and off, as well as just cranking over the engine. So we actually do have a correct harmonic balancer for 1960 Corvette. However, I don't think I'm going to use this, and here's why. Since you do have to pound this on, which I don't like pounding these on, I want to heat it up to assist with getting that on easier. This harmonic balancer has this rubber on the inside, so if I heat this up, probably will damage that. We don't want to do that. So this is what came with our 283 engine. I don't know if you actually call it a harmonic balancer, but that's what was on. This doesn't have the rubber, so we can heat this up, and hopefully that will assist in easily getting this on, so we won't have to pound into our nice new internal engine very hard. So let's see how it goes. All right, well, I'm not liking how hard it's going on. I really don't like pounding on this crankshaft as much. So obviously it started. I think I'm gonna leave it for now. Get some bolts in here because I want to be able to turn the engine over because we still have to get all of our rockers installed, and we need to crank the engine over to be able to do that. So we'll come back to this, I guess, at a later time. So we're moving on to our valve train assembly. Installing the lifters. The original lifters that were in here were worn pretty bad. But we happen to have another set that was in really good condition. And I know what you're thinking. You probably shouldn't be doing that, but it's a budget build, so that's what we're doing. I did also, I'm not sure I mentioned this previously, I did get new valves. They were pretty bad as well. So I thought it was prudent to get new valves. So we did do that. So let's continue to get these lifters in, and then we'll move into rockers. We seem to have run into a bit of a problem. Potentially a big problem, we'll see. So the lifters went in okay, but they didn't go all the way down. I didn't want to force them, but they seemed awfully snug. So I was going to just take them out. But boy, many of them came out very, very hard. It was not easy. So I figured, well, there's my mistake. Can't reuse the lifters. However, I do have another set of lifters that are going into the Project LT1 engine, and it seemed to kind of do the same thing. So I don't believe there should be a difference between a 350 and a 283 lifter, but I will double check that. So a bit perplexing, so we got to do a little research, figure this one out. So I did a little research on lifters and them not going in, and was getting kind of depressed. Everything that I was reading kind of implied that I had to do a complete tear down of the engine, which is not what I wanted to do. So after giving it a little bit more thought, I figured, well, let me see what I might be able to do to get these lifters in. So I actually took one of our lifters. I removed the inside so I get my finger in there, and I kind of like massaged it a little bit into each of the bores. Let me get you in here and kind of show you what I was doing. So again, remove the inside so I can stick my finger in. Then inserted it into the bore, and all of them went about this location, right even with that step in the lifter, which kind of got me thinking, I think something's different than from what my research was showing me. So basically with that, I just kind of gently was going up and down, rotating a little bit, just trying to get it in there. And it takes a while. Some of these probably have been 5 minutes or more. And there is actually one that I still haven't gotten, but I've gotten every single other one to go in. So I just got that one, plus this one. This is kind of like the last one, other than the one that's stuck. So again, up and down, trying to rotate a little bit. And then all of a sudden, it'll just go. So I'm not sure what is causing it. Whether or not there's some kind of debris, but it's almost like it's catching on this upper ridge, which seems so bizarre to me because the bottom goes in just fine. So, and there we go. It just gave way and went in. That one was actually pretty quick. So now it goes up and down very, very easily. So I think if I can get that last one to go, we're in good shape. However, we are going to order up some new lifters. I think we probably did potentially some damage when we were trying to get them out the first time. I can't believe how hard they actually did come out. So we got another delay, but at least I think we're heading in the right direction again. We are back at it. So we got our new lifters. We got them installed. They are moving nicely. We also put in our push rods and rockers, and we're currently adjusting the lash on these to make sure everything is operating correctly. I had hoped to get this engine rebuild for this video, but I've run into two issues. The first was when attaching the air intake, I had one bolt strip out the threads in the cylinder head, which I was devastated. But however, I got a longer bolt and torqued it up to the 30 foot-pounds, which is not a lot, and it held fine. So I'm hoping we're okay with that particular one. The second issue I ran into is I did pick up some cheap valve covers, since the ones that came with this engine were really bad. However, I wasn't paying attention. I've got one valve cover that has the offsetting bolt holes. They're not aligned. And these cylinder heads require them to be aligned. So we've got some holes that don't align with this valve cover. So need to figure out what I'm going to do. Can I get one of those other ones to get cleaned up good enough? Maybe. We're going to try that first and then go from there. But that's where we're currently at with our engine build right this moment. In a previous video, we had removed all of these brackets that the convertible top, seat belts, etc. attached to. They were pretty rusty, pitted, looked pretty bad. We did actually do a little bit of repair. We actually welded in some pieces in a few places, and we have them primed now and obviously back on the car. This top one that runs along the back edge, we did actually just put some screws in rather than the large rivets, but everything's primed up and on. These are on when the body is painted, so we will be doing the same thing. We got back from Carlisle yesterday. We had a really good time. We did a lot. Did a lot of video. We spent a lot of time talking with the Corvette engineers about all the new 2026 models. And of course, we did a lot of searching for parts for Project 60. We did pretty well. I was really hoping to pick up a front clip. The only thing I could find was a cowl that was pretty rough. Their sticker price was $5,000. He was willing to go down to $4,000. That is just way over my budget, so that was a pass. We did pick up a hood, which is behind me, which was a pretty good deal. It was $100 under my budget, so that's always a good thing. It's a little rough. I think there might have been a patch in the front. There might have been some type of scoop or something on it, so I'm eager to remove the paint and see what we actually have underneath. It is getting harder and harder, I would say, to find the parts that I need now that there's less parts that I need and getting them for reasonable prices. But I think overall we did pretty well. We did pick up a radiator fan shroud, which was not an easy thing, and I got a pretty good deal. Got a bunch of interior components. We found the trim that goes on the front side of the doors, speaker, other trim. We got a dirt cheap handle. Obviously it needs new leather, which certainly we can handle. We were able to find some of the windshield trim, which I don't see a lot of those. We got it for a relatively decent price, a little more than our budget, but I wouldn't say too bad. We picked up our final wheel cover. We were only missing one. We did buy kind of dirt cheap a couple of seat slides from a C3 Corvette. I think we can probably pretty easily modify these for our C1. It's ridiculous, the prices for C1 seats and the miscellaneous components. We picked up a lot of bumper brackets. I think we're missing just a few now. We got quite a few of those. Those are actually not cheap. I found a few that were reasonable. You even got one that was, I don't know, $5. It's obviously bent, but I think I could probably get it straightened out good enough, so that's what we needed. We did find pretty reasonable price for the wiring harness for the front end. I don't think it's the engines, mainly lights and front components. And then seats. Seats are another, as I mentioned earlier, seats are very expensive. We found 2 complete seat backs in very good condition. The leather's pretty good, needs a little cleaning. But overall, they're really good. I did have, obviously, one cover already, but hey, what are you going to do? And since the guy that I was getting them from was pretty reasonable, I picked up a seat that's, I'm not sure what, this might be a 61, 62 maybe, I'm not sure. But obviously I won't be using the leather, but it's got all the framing underneath, so that could be helpful for us. So overall, we came in $50 over our budget for all of these components, which actually is not too bad. So I think Carlisle was a success. I was very curious about this hood and what it was going to take to do the repair. So I did remove the paint, and as anticipated, there probably was a hood scoop on this that's been filled in, but there's quite a bit of Bondo on it. I actually took a die grinder to this area. So I'll probably remove all that, grind it down, and then just put some fiberglass on top of it for a repair. And then probably on the back side, do the same thing. Do some grinding, do some fiberglass work. The sides also had this black coating over them that was tough to get off, so I was kind of grinding that too. It seems a little thin, the fiberglass. So we definitely got some work ahead of us, but it's not all that critical since we don't have a front clip yet. So as far as purchases go, we are 53% for both interior and exterior components. Mechanical is at 75% complete, and chassis is at 70% complete. So averaging them out, we come out to be 63% complete with all of our purchases, which is a little slow, but we're progressing forward, which is good. I will say I'm a little concerned about our $18,000 budget. I am kind of coming up with things I didn't have on my list, and obviously we're not budgeted. I did carry a contingency for those items, but that contingency is getting rather small. So we'll see how things progress. I'm also very concerned about that front clip and what I might need to pay for that as well. So time will tell. That wraps up this episode. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will catch you next time.